Okay, everybody. We're going to get started in the interest of time. Uh, our rep from um, our rep from battle, it has to leave a little early, so we're going to change things around this time a little bit, and we're going to let battle go first, and then Rick and I will present just a couple slides on the Clean Cities and Communities program and some of the projects that we're involved with the state of Pennsylvania and on our own federally uh, funded projects. So just want to let everybody know you're being recorded. So if you don't want to be recorded, then you'd have to drop off. We will make the slides and the recording available to everybody once the presentation is over. Let me get these people. Hold on. Okay, so I want to introduce you. We're going to start off a little bit different. Like I said, we're going to have the manufacturer start off, and then we're going to take over. So, Dave Klaas, the show's all yours.
Yes, sir. All right, we really appreciate the opportunity to present to you folks today. So this is going to be a Battle Motors capabilities presentation, and really just kind of going through some practical EV solutions. I want to keep this pretty high level. So if you have any questions or things pop up during the presentation, please feel free to throw something in the chat or just interrupt me, and we can kind of get a dialogue going. So I put together about 30 slides, and I'm going to move through this pretty quickly, but just a little bit about myself. So I have over 18 years experience in the transportation industry, background with Penske and PACCAR mostly. Just came over to Battle Motors about 2 years ago, focused on EV. So I made the jump to really kind of focus on the EV niche, and it's been great over the past couple of years. And Battle's doing a lot of exciting things. I have a lot of experience in leasing, transportation finance, dedicated contract carriage, and now EV. So definitely focused on decarbonization. So for today, wanted to talk about a few things, just do an overview and the capabilities on Battle Motors. Um, Look at EV differentiators, what we do differently from a manufacturer standpoint relative to competition. Um, so I want to talk about our single axle day cab tractor that we've got. It's kind of a unique piece of equipment that we just came out with. Um, it's available now, and I want to run through that a little bit throughout the presentation. Talk about our EV inventory that's available. We've got quite a bit on the ground and ready to deploy. So that's also kind of a unique thing in the EV world. And then I put together a different presentation for key focus areas in electrification. So that's at the end of the presentation. I might jump to that. It's a little more educational in nature. It's kind of it's pretty dense in terms of information. So I've got a lot of sources and information in the notes section on each particular topic. I would suggest that you guys download the presentation. I think they'll send an email out with the full presentation. So I would definitely suggest taking a look at the notes. I've got a lot of resources and kind of sources that you can take a look at if you want to take a deep dive. So um, right here, the picture is that you see here is Battle Motors manufacturing facility just outside of Columbus, Ohio. So I wanted to start the call today and really just extend everybody on this call an invitation to our plant. We actually have so we're pretty close in proximity to most of you folks on this call. I would think probably within a couple hours. So we do plant tours on a daily basis, and if anybody's interested in coming down and taking a look at our production line, reach out to me and let me know, and we can set that up, and we'll take care of much of the expense of that, depending case by case basis. But highly recommend that. So Battle Motors, we've got a really interesting growth story. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with Crane Carrier Corporation. So Crane Carrier, so that's a 75-year-old company. It's like somebody needs to get on mute there. So Crane Carrier is a 75-year-old company, and Battle purchased cranes.
Hold on one second, Dave. Whoever just joined, please put on mute. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so 2021, Battle purchased Crane Carrier, and from 21 to 25, we've actually done a ton of things to increase our production capability. Gone from a 300 truck 300 to 500 truck per year capability in 21 to now this year we're going to do 2,000 ICE trucks. That's diesel and CNG, and we're going to do over 100 EV trucks built and delivered in 2024. So growth potential for 2025, we're looking to increase that even more aggressively. So that's, it's been a quick growth path. We've got a really kind of visionary CEO who's done multiple company turnarounds, but really the takeaway is that, Battle Motors is really Crane Carrier rebranded and repurposed and refocused on EV. So you can jump over that slide. Here are a few of our key customers. So Battle is really a refuse focused company. That's our main niche. On the EV side, we're getting into different commercial focuses, with private fleet, top 100 for higher fleets, different applications. But you can see, from a refuse standpoint, we kind of break it up into private refuse and then municipality business. We're doing business with all the major municipalities across the country. Definitely on the ICE side and even more on the EV side now too. So you can see some of our large customers, we're doing a lot of business with Waste Management and Republic and all the major refuse players in the market. And from a municipality standpoint, for example, like City of Chicago, we just did the first EV deal with the City of Chicago about 2 months ago. That was my project that we did. Scott Beck, who's on the call, he's based out of New York. He's our Northeast VP, and he's deals with the New York City folks on pretty much a daily basis. We've got EVs going into the city of Pittsburgh as well. But my focus is kind of dialed into the commercial aspect of our business too. Really like different types of applications outside of refuse, where you'd see like top 100 private fleet action, like Anheuser-Busch, FedEx, Dr. Pepper, and then some of those that you see on the upper right. So I wanted to give you a feel for some of our customers and what our market approach is. As far as top BEV deployments, I kind of mentioned that. You can see here, on the right, what types of trucks we've got, and I'll talk to that in another slide. But overall, we've probably got about 20 to 30 new EV customers over the past year. And really we've got, let's see here. So over 30 new BEV applications, I should say unique BEV applications out on the road. So this is actually my favorite slide. This gives an idea, to all of you, what types of trucks that we've been able to configure on the EV side. So the one takeaway I'd like for you to have on this call today is that Battle is really, what we're doing right now is doing a highly custom job. We're customizing chassis. We have the ability to do all kinds of different upfits, which is pretty unique in the OEM space right now. Our competition technically has the capability to do that. They're not choosing to do that yet, and we are. So we're trying to be kind of get a first mover advantage in many of these applications. So if you look at the upper left, that refuse rear loader, that's a Heil rapid rail unit. That truck right now is being demoed with the city of Fresno, and I think it's sold to the city of Fresno now. That's a unique truck. I'm not sure if there's another one that exists like that out there. There might be a couple from a competition standpoint, but then going to the right, you see the Elgin Sweeper. That's been our most successful EV project to date. We've got about 20 units in our backlog. We've got multiple demos out in the world. So if anybody, I'm sure there's a few people on the call that maybe have engaged with us regarding the sweeper, but if anybody would like to set up a demo or have any discussions on the Elgin Sweeper, we can certainly talk about that, because that's been a lot of engineering over the past 18 months, and it's out there, it's proven, it's operating effectively. So we think that's one of our best products right now from an EV perspective. So the Roll-Off, that's a new truck that we just put out, and it's the first of its kind. It's in Southern California, operating right now, so that we can do different different types of body upfits like Galbraith or Palfinger or whatever. And so our truck platform, we've got two EV truck platforms. It's the 240 kilowatt hour and the 400 kilowatt hour. So the LNT, which was kind of formerly known as the low narrow tilt, which is the tighter cab, tighter, just kind of smaller, more maneuverable truck. We're calling that the Striker now. So that's our LNT, and that's typically configured on a 240 kilowatt hour solution. So the LET2, which is the low entry tilt, which is a little bit wider, a little bit bigger, kind of a little slightly heavier frame. That's now called the Raider, and that's typically on the EV side configured with our 400 kilowatt hour solution. We do have the ability to configure different battery setups. We have a modular setup with CATL. If there's going to be a large enough order, we can certainly make the kilowatt hour setup less. Like we could do like 150 kilowatt hour, maybe on a lighter duty truck like a Class 6 to try to like free up some payload with a larger enough order. Or we could, potentially even add some power to the truck on, say a heavier operation like a digger derrick that's going to pull more energy. So we've got that capability. So customization level, the 30 plus applications out there, we're leading, I'm pretty sure we're leading all OEMs on that front. You can see stake beds and flatbeds and dry freight trucks. Sorry, was that a question or?
Majority of them are homeowner operators.
Hey, JP, can you go on mute, please? Thank you. Yeah, so some of these other ones, we're getting into the bigger markets, right? With the commercial markets on dry freight, stake bed and flatbed. So this audience is pretty much municipal. So I think refuse and some of these, maybe utility trucks, digger derricks, those different kind of trucks are maybe more in focus. But I just wanted to give you guys a sense of what we're doing here. So in the bottom right, the city tractor, the single axle day cab, I'll jump ahead and talk to that a little bit, but we've got 50 of those on ground ready to deploy right now. Really unique truck, and we kind of built it for food and beverage distribution, but it's got a really strong profile, and it can do a lot of other things too. So we can jump into that a little bit. So key differentiator, quickly moving through this slide, is the BEV customization. Our customization level from a wheelbase, frame, componentry, option standpoint, second to none right now. We can get a truck built. Really, 2 months is the quickest custom truck we can build. 2 months to 6 months is really kind of the window there. So we can get trucks out quickly. We've got a line up and running next to our ICE line in Ohio. And again, I would suggest anybody who's interested can come take a look at that. We can do 2 EV trucks per day. Up to 6 or 7 ICE trucks per day. So these lines are operating in tandem, and we're leveraging technology from the ICE line into the BEV line in our plant. So no direct competition in most BEV segments. I kind of touched on that. So quick summary here on what EV inventory we have on the ground, in case anybody wants to kind of get a look at something, get a feel, maybe set up a demo. Definitely interested. And I think on the EV front, the demo activity is really crucial. And we understand that, and we want to give our customers and municipalities the opportunity to really test the stuff in the field if possible, or at least have drivers take a look at it, maybe just drive it on a route, even if it's not the right application for exactly what you're looking to do. But right now we've got, like I said, 50 tractors, about 9 cabin chassis that we could do different types of upfits on. We have a stake bed, a handful of roll-offs, and then a couple of small 8 to 13 yard rear loaders. So we've got 66 units right now that are actually deployable like right away. Just wanted to make that point. Here's some information on our rear loader. I won't go through all this, but again, I'll send this information out. You guys can take a look and dig into what you'd like to. Price points on this stuff is pretty much it's all over the place. We're like this truck in particular, just to give you guys a sense, the 11-yard curb tender rear loader, retail end user price, municipality price, anywhere in that like 400 to 450 range is kind of where we've seen it. And the grants and incentives piece is very important. We've got Inflation Reduction Act and then other grants and incentives in a lot of other areas. There's been some federal funding recently, and we can help navigate through all that. But I just want to give you, an overall sense of what that price point would be on a truck like this. So information on the roll, I put some information in here on the roll-off cabin chassis as well. And here's our BEV single axle tractor. I mean, that's a really unique tractor. This is our LNT and battle. So our cab configuration is a low cab forward, right? So it's got the old school kind of refuse truck look, We've done some things with the cab to make it a lot more ergonomic, for our drivers, and it's not, so it's a comfortable unit. It's a little tricky sometimes on the class 6 and class 7, like final mile, like versus conventional, but we are competing there. But this single axle tractor, I mean, it's a 20,000 pound front axle, 30,000 pound rear. We've got the GCW on that's 66,000 GCW, and the battery configuration, it's a little bit different here. We've got some batteries on the side of the frame to balance the weight, and it's a 240 total kilowatt hour solution in the CATL battery pack. So this truck is going to get up to probably 150-ish, 150, maybe a little bit more on a range. But it's perfect for food and beverage, perfect for intermodal. For a lot of municipalities like Chicago, for example, I mean, they've got a fleet of like 30 single axle tractors, and they're looking to really replace their tractors with this truck because of the city maneuverability, visibility, safety getting in and out of the cab, just the overall dimensions of this cab. It's a lot smaller than some of these beefier competitive offerings like the e-Cascadia or the Volvo VNL. That's just a way bigger truck, and it's not a more powerful truck, and it's less efficient than this is too. So we think we've got a really interesting solution here on this single axle. So I included some more information on this in terms of what markets this could fit into. Like waste management and recycling would be one that would definitely relevant for this group. Here's some information on the specs of the BEV single axle tractor. I won't run through each of those. One thing to mention though is we do have an EPTO solution in our factory, so that's an issue for our competition. So we have a Borg-Warner engine and EPTO platform right out of our factory. So anything that we need to do to set up, like a pump system, any kind of EPTO, we do that right from the factory, and that's another key thing to kind of remember. If you need to put a wet kit on a tractor or whatever you need to do with your upfit, we do the EPTO right out of the factory. So here's some competitive advantages on the single axle tractor in particular. And I also included some lease and loan options here just to give you an idea, because we have come out. We partnered with one of our financing partners, Mitsubishi Capital, has been able to really guarantee residual values on the EV side, which is unique. That's very difficult because frankly there's no market for EVs. There's no aftermarket. They haven't been around long enough to really understand what the used market looks like for EVs. Therefore, it's difficult to really pinpoint what a residual value looks like. So we've been able to do that, and Mitsubishi Capital took some joint risk with us to where we can offer fair market value leases on a 3, 4, 5 year time period with all of our EV products. So that, to me, that's the best way to get into an EV, is to, because these EV trucks, I mean, the battery systems last 10 to 12 years, right? So, but technology is really rapidly improving, right? So to me, it makes sense to maybe get into a little bit shorter lease, less capital outlay. You can kind of, get the truck, the truck benefits and the technology enhancements on a year-over-year basis a little bit quicker that way. But I did include some directional payments here on the single axle tractor, just so you guys had an idea of what that looks like on a 3, 4, and 5 year lease. So you're looking at, like just under 6,000 on a 3 year, just under 5,000 on a 4 year, and then just under 5,000 on a 5 year. So I put together another presentation for a different, just a different marketing event that we're doing, and this is a little bit more educational in nature. And one of the things that I did was I wanted to focus on what are the key focus areas in electrification of heavy duty BEV trucks. And in my opinion, and this is kind of talking to our engineers and different folks at our company, there are 6 areas to focus on when you're trying to really drive the transition to electrification. First is managing costs, the TCO and the ROI considerations. You got to understand what that looks like in your particular use case and application. Range issues, range anxiety, what does that look like in your particular use case? Infrastructure investments, payload optimization is another huge one, and then route planning and charging strategy. Route planning, I don't think gets enough attention in EV, because that with all the AI tools that are coming out now, you can get up to like 30% better power, optimization if your route planning and your charging strategy is really optimized. Then vehicle design, that's really kind of where we come in, with designing the trucks in a certain way that's going to try to make, help make the transition easier to increase range, lower cost, and just make the EV transition better. So, key factors impacting total cost of ownership, diesel versus electric. I think, I won't talk through all these, but what I try to do is give a practical recommendation for each of these slides and each of these areas. I think comparing electricity rates versus diesel, for fleet routes in a given area is a good place to start, because that, obviously, one of the TCOs that I did here in the Chicagoland area was for Cook County Forest Preserve, and that return on investment was pretty quick, even without a ton of grants and incentives, because the mileage application that they had in Chicago was pretty high. So it was like 120, 150 miles, per day. So that, that's a big energy gain, and that, so the energy costs and the maintenance costs are obviously the two biggest drivers of the argument towards EV. You got to really pinpoint that, and you got to understand what the electricity rates look like versus what the diesel average costs look like. So that's a pretty obvious place to start. So the energy rule of thumb is that, you're going to save about 60% in energy on an EV, and then about 40% in maintenance costs. I'm sure many of you have heard that before, but if you look in the note section on each of these, I put my top 10 sources on directly what impacts ROI and TCO with EV versus the diesel discussion. So there's a lot of information there if you want to dig into it, and wanted to try to give some practical recommendations too. So now, as far as extending range, now there's some things you can do up front, to try to, so if range is an issue, or if you've got an operation where it's like close, hey, I don't know if this EV is going to actually be able to, manage the route in its entirety. Maybe it's like 120 or 150 miles. There's some things you can do up front, like, battery technology improvements, aerodynamic design on certain truck components, energy recovery systems, lightweight materials, and then charging, and then route planning. So those are some areas where you can impact the range on transitioning to an EV. So it's not just, just take what you're going to be given and hope it's going to work out. There's definitely some things, if you work with us on the truck side, we can certainly look at different battery configurations and other items. And again, I really like the route planning one as one to look into. And so charging infrastructure on EV truck fleets is another huge one. I mean, the cost of high power chargers, if you look at a level 3 DC charger, that's going to be anywhere from like 25,000 to up to 140,000 plus. So that's something that's a significant cost. And then with the charging infrastructure, it can be really like 30% plus of the total electrification investment. So getting ahead of that, by a year or more, depending on how many trucks you want to electrify in your fleet, where it is, what the relationship is with the utility company and other factors. I mean, getting ahead of that's a key situation. But I, put some other strategies in here and included some different resources on this as well. That's a pretty important topic. So payload optimization, this is an interesting one. So for every, and I was just looking at this yesterday. So for every 1,000 pounds of payload, additional payload on the truck, you're going to lose about 1% of your power. So if you have a 20,000 pound load, you're gonna lose about 20% of your power. That's a pretty good rule of thumb. So that I get that question a lot, like how much energy is this truck going to take if I actually add payload to the truck? That's a good rule of thumb on that. So solutions to that issue, right? Lightweight materials, modular battery designs, regulatory payload adjustments, and then optimize freight loads. Those are 4 areas where you can kind of optimize payload and do some different things there. So just a couple more slides here, and I have to jump, but Scott Beck is on the call, and he can kind of take any questions and go through some of this too. here's some information on route planning. You know, I put together a solution, you know, potential solutions on how route planning and charging strategy can impact, you know, the transition to electrification, and then defined what each of those solutions are. And then just tried to make a practical recommendation on each too. So I think, you know, time of use charging is kind of an interesting concept. You know, so charging during off-peak hours is going to reduce your energy costs up, you know, up to 25%, you know, and especially in like, you know, more urban areas, and you're going to get into that, you know, in California for sure, but you know, the Pittsburgh area could be one for that. And then again, AI driven route planning, and obviously try to optimize charging locations. A lot easier said than done. You know, it's charging locations, you know, public availability on EVs really, really scarce still. But what we found is that if it's just like one or two trucks, you know, we've seen that it doesn't really typically take much of an upgrade to the facility to really put a level 2 charger in, or even a level 3, you know, just one to start. So it gets a little trickier with a fleet transition for 5, 10, 15 plus. So this top 4 EV truck design strategies, this is kind of where Battle as an OEM, a truck manufacturer, would come in and work with you to really try to optimize the truck from a build standpoint to make it easier to transition it to EV in your operation. Again, the modular battery design, lightweight materials, and integrated telematics and aerodynamic optimization. Those are some 4 strategies that would really kind of go into, you know, how to design the vehicle for EV transition. So that's all I had. I realize that's pretty high level and pretty quick. There's a ton of information in the notes section that you can dig into, and you know, feel free to reach out to me anytime. I would love to engage in any type of EV project that you all have. And again, you know, thanks to the group here for letting me present here. And you know, Scott, I got to jump, but Scott Beck is on, and he can kind of take it from here. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, so do you want to
Thanks,
do
Dave.
your presentation, Clean Cities, and then if people have questions, I can answer any questions after? Or do you want me to do questions now?
Yeah,
like
I would rather
whatever you prefer.
Yeah, let's do questions now while it's fresh in people's mind. So there was one in the chat from Darren, said, "Are snowplows on the horizon?"
The answer is everybody would like them to be on the horizon. They're really not in a broad sense. Like, for example, in New York City, you know, the city has determined that at the moment, with the technology and the timeframes required in existing charging infrastructure, that they're only going to look to electrify non-chargeable non-plowable assets. We do have a solution though. This little, we played around, and like some really, really small trucks, we could, you know, some of these little LNT mini rear loaders, we can probably do a plow, or maybe on the tractor, but that would only be something, you know, we're thinking about taking the tractor chassis and putting a dump body on it, which we're working on right now. And then we probably could put like a mini plow, but it wouldn't be able to do anything rigorous in terms of massive amounts of city streets. It would be more like a kind of, you know, driveway, you know, entry area kind of situation, like a very small solution. The limits for the plowing issues are a couple. It's the weight's very heavy on the front axle, number one. And then number two, you know, people normally want them to charge all day in a snow event, and they just don't have that kind of battery capacity. In addition, they tend to want them to go for multiple shifts and work the whole day, and the charging infrastructure just isn't there to really charge fleets, you know, with fast chargers. Even a fast charger would take an hour and a half to 2 hours, and the truck would be down at a snow event.
Okay, thanks. Brian has a question. Go ahead, Brian.
How you doing, Scott? Thanks for jumping
Good,
on here.
thanks.
It's really fantastic what
Sure.
you guys have done, what you're doing, really great. And we can just talk about the charging piece for just a little bit.
Sure.
A couple of things I want to go through: size of battery, and then your applications that you have right now. Are these mobile chargers, or are these chargers that people are putting in their facility where they're contacting the utility to have a certain amount of electricity to that location?
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so basically what people are doing, I mean, the perfect charging solution, right, is to have the grid capability, and most people would require grid upgrades to do a level 3 fast charger. The issues with level 3 fast chargers are, number one, they're expensive at the moment, but some of that can be
Yeah.
offset by grants depending on the, where. Number
Right.
two, um, they take time. Like even if the grid, you have the grid, the utility can do it. It may be a year wait to really get the upgrade, or a year and a half. We're seeing some of that. Um, so what people are doing in general, I would say, some people are ahead of the game, already have level 3 fast chargers. So I have a situation where, like Harvard University, for example, they're looking at some electric trucks. They've already have electric buses. It's a perfect, college campuses are like whether it would be a Carnegie Mellon or something. It's perfect use case for electric vehicles because they're ring fence, right? They don't really go that far. They run around the campus. They're not spewing a lot of emissions, and they're quiet. So like Harvard already did it with their buses, their local bus shuttles, and they're about to do it for the refuse. So they already have level 3 chargers. What people are doing in the interim, they're using level 2 chargers, which your grid doesn't have to be crazy. You just have to have like 100 amps, which maximizes. So at 100 amps, the level 2 charger just needs an electrician to install it. And then at the 100 amps, if you have that, it could charge it up to 19.7 kilowatts, which is what they claim. That is an urban myth. They never charge at 19.2. They really charge if you have the 100 amps at about 15. But if you think about it, on the smaller solution, the 240 kilowatt, if it has a range of 150 miles, maybe your truck runs around 80 miles, it comes back at 50%. So you need to just charge 120 kilowatts. And basically at the 15, you can do it 8 hours. So these can easily charge overnight. And people will get multiple of them and then plug them in overnight. Is what people are doing for now. On the 400s, it's much more tricky. Unless a truck is really not used a lot, it's pretty hard to charge that overnight. So you really need a level 3. And what's happening is people are starting now to look, because of the issues I'm talking about, there are companies that are coming out with these level 3 fast chargers as a mobile solution. Where they're like banks of the chargers, and they could be like little pup trailers that can be moved around, and they'll use those. But it's not mainstream yet, but it's coming.
Got it.
And to be honest with you, the answer, and this is why I say to people, if you don't like, electrification is not a binary event. You just do not immediately say, okay, now we're electric, and flick a switch. If you have a fleet of 10 trucks, perhaps you electrify 1, 2, or 3 of them. And over time, as the grid gets more, better, the technology gets better, the dependability gets better, then you can move the whole fleet. But the biggest piece of the charging piece will take way longer than anybody thought or pretended.
So on the charging piece of that, Scott, and thank you for that. On the charging piece, are the chargers what you guys supply, or is that a third party group that you guys have involved with that?
Okay, we are charging agnostic. We have picked a charging partner called Positive Energy. We offer their products when somebody purchases a truck. Especially like on the level 2, it's very simple. We just deliver it with a truck, or we could deliver it before if somebody needs to set it very quickly. We don't really mark it up. It's not a profit center for us. On level 3, you then have to interact with Positive Energy about the installation. They will come and do a survey, but a survey. But the ports are the connectors are pretty standard. We have SS1, I think it's called, where they're pretty universal. So we don't require any integration with a specific charging company at all.
Great. Got it. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate the time. Thank you.
Anytime. Thank you.
Does anybody else have any questions for Scott right now?
Hey, Tony, this is Rick. Hey, Scott, I know maybe I'll ask it for everyone, but I know a lot of our municipalities end up leasing a lot of their equipment. Is there an option under your lease program, lease the purchase option?
Absolutely. Yes. The beauty of our lease program is there's tremendous flexibility. Mitsubishi Capital, we call it Battle Motors Capital, but we partner with Mitsubishi. We're very creative. So we would get the lease specialist, Chris Schatz, who runs a lot of the finance arm of the company, and he would discuss and could pretty much do within reason, I think, anything you could think of. We're very willing to be creative and flexible.
And the last question I would have is time frame. If somebody was to issue a purchase order for a particular one, are you backlogged or I mean, I thought I heard 2 to 6 months.
Here's where we are, to be honest with you. It really depends on the truck. We have some stock trucks in inventory which could be delivered within a month and a half or month to the body company. If it's a custom build, like new build, if it's a 240 kilowatt pack, you're thinking about 3 months, probably right around there, 3 to 4 months at max. If it's a 400 kilowatt larger battery pack, you're then looking at 6 months. That's literally because a couple of the components, some of the rack components and harnesses, as well as the 400 kilowatt battery packs, just require, that's kind of like what the lead time is on them as we get them. So we have a backlog, but we're more constrained on new orders. Our backlog is pretty full right now, but we're more constrained by getting the components on new orders than the actual ability to produce as we work through the backlog.
Anybody have any other questions? I'm gonna throw you a softball question here, Scott.
You can throw me a hardball question, Tony. I'll deal with it.
All right. Yeah. So I think the hardest part for fleet managers and fleets in general is to actually start the process of converting over to any technology, but electric being a very different technology than gaseous fuel or petroleum-based fuels. So one of the things that I think is the hardest for as clean cities that we see when we talk to fleets is overcoming the obstacle of return on investment, versus initial outlay of funding. What do you see like in the future, or like, do you see there's going to be parity among what your solution is and a diesel tractor?
I think parity will take a really long time. Battery costs are coming down, but a lot of the components aren't. So with grants, you would definitely get parity in terms of, when I say parity, I'm talking about in terms of initial capital outlays. We have something called the total cost of ownership calculator, which, the rep would go through with a customer and the dealer. And, you could look at like where the break-even points are, and we let the customers do the assumptions. So, for example, when Dave was talking about, when you get your power from the grid, we assume, let's say 17 cents a kilowatt. But some people, if they pull, from the grid and charge at night, it's only like 8. So you do whatever assumptions you want, whatever grant assumptions, and obviously, up front, the grants take a lot of the difference out, right? To some extent, It can almost equalize the whole thing. And that's really a state by state municipality kind of issue. It's very different in different states, but there are some situations where people are almost even out of the gate. But then even if you're not, if you really, and it really, as Dave said, it depends on, the maintenance piece isn't crazy. I mean, it's 60, you save whatever percent, but that takes a while to accrete. But if the truck is used a fair amount and has a lot of mileage, the fuel costs, we normally find that the break-even costs are between 1 and 3 years. But I think the biggest thing to understand, though, is that if you look at this calculator I'm talking about, that you're talking about like people aren't as comfortable, they want to wrap their head around it. We can literally work on the spreadsheet and people can see the numbers, see where the break evens are, change their assumptions. So that can get people comfortable. But at the end of the day, if you really cut through all the garbage, it's not going to be, especially at the beginning, it is a higher upfront cost of capital. And that is why, like, I live in New York City, and that's why, we have certain solutions that you'd say, oh, well, everybody should do that with the grant money, and you could lease it and this and that. But a lot of the local delivery people, let's say beverage deliverers or, box truck people, they're, local mom and pop kind of small businesses that have 2 trucks or 1 truck, and they can't or won't, suffer the short-term negative cash flow situation. So we've seen, it's more large privates and municipalities that have been the first to really push towards electrification.
And okay, and one other question on that. So you sell your refuse, I would assume, to a lot of municipalities. Is that do you guys offer either like a test run, or do you have vehicles out there that we could show people? Because I think that's the biggest part of what we do is once people we get their butts in the seats, then they feel more comfortable and they understand it. To show somebody a picture and tell you, hey, this person in California uses it, doesn't sell them as much as bringing something to the East Coast.
Yeah, what really happens, and it differs, we will do demos. The hardest thing for us, because of insurance purposes, and if it's like a fleet or major municipality, we might let them take the truck for a day or two, have the drivers drive it. But like on a refuse side, we're not really, you can't have somebody use it on a refuse route,
Correct.
right? They could drive it, because all of a sudden it becomes a used truck once they start putting refuse in it.
Right.
Or what we do at local dealers, or we have events, and Jen can address them at times, we'll do a ride and drive. That is the most efficient thing to do, where we have a truck or two, or with different types of trucks at one location for a day or 2 days, and normally a day, and a dealer sponsors it, in conjunction with us, and let people drive the trucks. Or I've done many times at my local dealers, and again, this really depends though on the dealer and what they stock. Some of my dealers in New York, most of them have at least one electric truck at their shop, that they own. So we can use that. We have somebody come over, we do a walk through the truck, and we let them drive it around as much as they want. I've been in more of these, like driven around than I care to be in, but people do need to drive the truck and feel it. But it's a little trickier when you just say, just drop the truck off and give it to somebody, for a week, like a test drive like that. But
yeah,
I do think, we're pretty flexible in trying to
Understood.
figure out ways to do that, though, to get people in the trucks, for sure.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Scott? Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
If nobody, does somebody have any? Or
No, look, I don't see any hands up or nothing.
I would just conclude in saying, I think just my takeaways, David did the presentation. I sell a fair amount of these in New York, cover New York City. I'm putting trucks in the Department of Sanitation, New York Port Authority, other local municipalities. We're selling some up in Massachusetts and New Jersey. The bigger things are, the key things are, it's still a relatively new product, and it just keeps getting better. So these are newly in the field. Things happen. We figure out, we need a better component for this or that. So it's constantly improving. But once the trucks are out there, these components can be upgraded once we find better solutions if needed. And number two, the most important thing in my opinion is this is not a binary event. It's not, you're not going to just electrify the whole fleet, but I think it's important, especially on the municipal level, that you start the process and start to get it 1 or 2 trucks and just see how it goes and start to move, because this will happen. It's just a function of when.
And Scott, we have your information. Tony, you have Scott's info?
I think I have his information. Scott, you can throw it in the chat if you want.
Yeah, I'll put it in the chat so people have it.
Great.
Hey, Scott,
Thank you.
This is Rick. One more question.
Sure.
Since I'm here at the city of Pittsburgh, and I believe they've ordered some electric trash haulers. Do you have any idea when they're coming?
Yeah, I think they've gotten delivery on some, or they're working on them, but I think they were just doing some component upgrades, because in the interim from when they ordered them, I think that we've upgraded the transmission, so I think they're going through that right now. So I think they should start to hit within the next month or two, I believe.
All right, thank you.
But don't quote me on that, because it's not really my account. I don't know the exact details.
No, I understand, because they always bring vehicles to our events, so that's one way that we can help promote it as well.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott. Okay, so for the next part, we usually do this another way around, where we go through the Clean Cities program and then go to the OEM. But due to time restraints today, we had to kind of switch it up backwards. So I'm going to go real quick, because I know we have 15 minutes through some slides, talk about Clean Cities and Communities program that Rick and I are involved with. and just to give you an idea, because I know there's some new people on here that may or may not know about the Clean Cities program and what we do. So I'm going to share my screen and just go through a couple of slides. If you have any questions, just let us know. All right. So we're gonna do. Okay, everybody see that?
Yep.
All right, good. So this was the introductory side. So we had Battle Motors on the phone. We have a couple dealerships on the phone that actually represent Battle Motors to get, so you'd be able to purchase and maybe demo some of those. The next one. So just a real 10,000 foot overview of who we are. So we're part of the Clean Cities and Community Program in partnership with the Department of Energy. There's about 75 active coalitions across the country, and what we do is we help every state help local decision makers and fleets understand and implement alternative and renewable fuels, idle reduction, fuel economy, new mobility choices, and emerging transportation technologies. What we're good at is we foster the economic, environmental, and energy security of the United States by working locally to advance affordable domestic transportation fuels. Like I said, we're set. The next couple of slides, you'll see the map of where we are. But the Clean Cities program started in 1993 as part of the Energy Policy Act. Our coalition, the Eastern Pennsylvania Alliance for Clean Transportation, started out as the Greater Philadelphia Clean Cities. So we are 31 years old. We were the third coalition in the country, and then I think Rick started a few years later.
95.
Well, yeah. So there you go. It's a couple of years later. This is really what the program is all about. So we provide objective, unbiased data, real-world lessons learned to inform research needs and support local decision making. So that all said is that we're really a good resource to put together projects, to get the technologies on the road, and that's our goal, is really to do the deployment of these vehicles to replace internal combustion engines, whether they run on gas or diesel. So you'll see these four buckets of things that we kind of do. So us in the middle, Clean Cities, like I said, there's 75 of us across the country. In a couple of slides, I'll show you the map. And what we're really good at is the information and tools. We work with all the national labs, NREL, Argonne, Oak Ridge, Sandia. All those labs are part of the Department of Energy. So we have really good information. And one of the good things is that it's unbiased. So if some technology is trying to be used in some work case and it doesn't work, they'll write a report about it and tell you it doesn't work. So like I said, the good thing is they're honest. They're not trying to fluff anything. And our job is to disseminate that information out to you and fleets so they understand their choices before they dive into alternative fuels. We have a technical response team. So if any of you had a question or had needed some information about some type of vehicle and some type of use case, Rick or I can actually go to our technical assistance response team, pose the question, and then usually within a day or two you have a 10-page dissertation on the answer to the question. So it's a really good resource for us, especially people that are starting new, getting into new technologies. The main thing that we do is what we're doing right now. We do webinars, we do outreach, we do training, we do all types of events. Rick and I put on tons of events together. We work together as a state. We do first responders training. On Rick's side, he's working with his community college, actually put on EV SE training. I work with the Community College of Philadelphia that has alternative fuel maintenance training. So those are some of the good things that we really do. And if you want to work with us to do an educational section or do a demonstration of vehicles, we can help you with that. And then the last thing, but I think it's the most important thing, is the financial assistance. People look to us as the money guys, and we're really not the money guys, but we can help you find the money. We've been very successful in our grants, and both state and work with both state and federal agencies in helping write grants. My coalition is about 95% successful in grant writing, so we could help you. And like I said, what we're really good at is putting everybody together on the same page, pulling in all parts of the project to make it work. All right, so as I said, here's a quick updated map. I think they just got one, and I think Vegas was the newest one added, Rick, or something. I think they were, New Mexico, the newest coalitions added. The map has changed over the years, but this is all the different coalitions across the country. Is about 75 of them, and you can see the Northeast where we are is pretty much all blue. So pretty much every state is covered through the Clean Cities Network. All right. Hold on. Okay. Real quick, here's the breakdown of Rick and ours territory. We started out as the Greater Philadelphia Clean Cities, right? In this, we did the 5 counties of the Delaware Valley. In 2013, we had a redesignation with the Department of Energy, and we decided to split the state up because we were doing work in other counties and weren't getting kind of credit for it from the Department of Energy. So we split it up, and so I have 34 counties, and Pittsburgh Region Clean Cities and Rick's and Kristen's organization has 33 counties. But we do everything, pretty much we do all our events pretty much statewide like this. We try and keep it working so we know what they're doing on that side, they know what we're doing on our side, and then it just makes it a better bond. So the next couple slides is a kind of, next slide is what we do. These are some of the things, like I told you, we do. We're both nonprofits. We have membership. We're a membership-based organization, so we have dues that we collect. We're both the 501c3 nonprofit. So the good thing is we're unbiased as well. We are fuel agnostic, meaning we support all those green fuel types: electricity, propane, natural gas, ethanol, hydrogen, biodiesel, renewable diesel, renewable propane, anti-idling, anything that lessens our dependence on imported petroleum is something that we support. We've done projects pretty much in all those types of fuels. Again, here's some of the other things that we work with: public and private companies. UPS is members of both of our organizations, AAA, and some bigger organizations. And then we also have dealerships, and we have industry. Plus, we work with a lot of municipalities. So if you're a municipality and you need some help, you can definitely work through our program. Again, don't need to go through the whole thing, but project management is one of the things that we do with goes along with our education and outreach. So real quick, a couple of the projects that we work on together. So the Drive Electric Pennsylvania Coalition was formed in 2016 to help implement strategies to adopt the adoption of electric vehicles in PA. So when we first started, it was PennDOT and the DEP came to Rick and I in 2016 and said, "Hey, how are we going to start planning for this electric stuff?" So we sat down and kind of made a game plan, and started off with us four, and I think the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, which is the Parks Department. And then from there, we made a coalition that is over 140 people now, that we have quarterly meetings. And it involves everybody from industry people to municipalities to universities to all the government agencies in PA. So we're pretty proud of that. We have the website there, www.driveelectricpa.org, so you can check that out. The next project that we're both working on is this one. It's called Charge at Work. So we're both sub-recipients to CalSTART, and basically this program is really to educate workplaces to install charging stations for their employees. So we're out there, going to employees and telling them the benefits of having a charging station at their facility, and what it would mean to their employees, because some people obviously don't have charging if they live in a multi-unit dwelling or they live in off-street parking, and so a good place for them to charge would be at work. So Rick's organization, my organization, along with Cal Start and a couple others, are out there trying to get pledges signed just to say that we're going to work with us. We have a lot of tools in our toolbox for this project. We can do ROI, we can do site visits and give you estimates, and there's a lot of things that we can do for this project. So if you're with a business or a municipality and would have an interest of actually having charging stations at your facility, just contact Rick or I, and we will definitely talk to you about this program. Hold on. All right. So this is the last slide here about the projects. This one just didn't even start yet. We're doing demonstration and deployment of electric construction vehicles with PennDOT. So PennDOT was the lead applicant and brought in PRCC and EPAC. And basically, we are going to test out the viability of electric off-road construction vehicles. So the project hasn't even started, but there's going to be a lot of data collection, and I think the project is a 3-year project. So I'm sure there'll be new stuff coming along down the pike, but our job is really going to be just data collect, find out what vehicles are out there and what people will be willing to try and use. So stay tuned on that project.
Tony, you can mention that we're having a electric construction equipment webinar on January 22nd as well.
Funny that you say that, Rick, because here we go. Selfless, shameless plug here, or some events that we're having. So on next week on the 18th, in partnership with TransEdge, we are the EPACT is having a Mac Experience workshop at the Mac Experience Center in Allentown. So if you want to find out more information, just contact me. After that, we have to register for that. And then on January 22nd of 2025, Rick and I and Case, who's a construction company, will be going over some electric construction vehicles and how they fit in. So this is a real new category. So we're learning as much as everybody else on the electric construction vehicles and what's going to take place with that. So that's it. I got one slide. Here's Rick and our and mine contact information. So if you have any questions or need any help or have any project ideas, please let us know and we will be sure to help you. Does anybody have any questions for Rick and I?
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, my name is Yaron from Terra Energy. eVTOL, and any plans or ideas on your end?
Well, I'm sorry, you broke up there a little bit.
I'm sorry about eVTOL. The electric vehicle vertical takeoff, the air aviation, also like the charging locations and strategies. Are you guys also looking into that one?
You're talking about airplanes?
No, the eVTOLs.
I'm not understanding.
I'm not sure. Are you talking about the infrastructure, the NEVI, or the repair of chargers?
No, I'm talking about the air aviation, the eVTOL that is also happening right now in New York.
I think they may even have some of that at the Du Bois Airport, I think, but I'm not sure. No, we have not at the present. We have not had anything.
Okay, I'll reach out to you both. I have some in like a mega charging tracking eVTOL logistics site that I'm planning right now in a land in near one I-80. So I'll reach out to you on the project soon.
Yeah, that's great.
Yes, please do, because we can help promote, anything that displaces petroleum-based fuels and greenhouse gas. We're definitely interested in whether it's on-road or off-road.
Absolutely. Thank you, guys. I'll reach out soon.
Yep, and there was projects that I'm involved with that Rick isn't. I am doing medium and heavy duty ZEV projects along the I-80 corridor and I-95 corridor. So I'm in two separate projects, and Rick has other projects in his neck of the woods. But we are doing medium and heavy duty electric and hydrogen fueling station locations. We're trying to find the best spots for that. So anyway,
Oh, amazing. I have an amazing spot for you guys. Okay.
perfect.
Bye.
Perfect. So just send me your information. And anybody else have any questions? Just all right. Hearing none. Just stay on the lookout for our invites, and feel free to join up for both of our newsletters. And we will, do this quarter. Every quarter, we're having a medium and heavy duty electric truck workshop. So we've had most of the big manufacturers, but we might have to cycle over again because it's been over a year. So thank you so much.
Yes,
Great
thank
work,
you.
guys. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, take care.
Have a great day. Bye-bye.
Yeah.